isn't news that Barcelona has been experiencing financial struggles in the last couple of years. But ironically, they have the highest paid players in the league, Frankie de Jong and Lewandowski. What's even more ironic is that despite the club's lasting precarious financial position, they always manage to make one of the most expensive transfer mistakes. The club board is probably just bad at decision-making, but just look at the Philippe Coutinho case, for instance. We all know how that record-breaking transfer turned out for Barcelona, but we're not here to talk about that, and it's too sad to get into anyway. However, he wasn't the only player with whom Barca made a pricey gamble. Antoine Griezmann, the French forward whose time at Barca was plagued by uncertainty and a loan spell to Atletico Madrid, the same club that sold him to Barca in the first place. Today, Griezmann has been bought back by Atletico for €22 million, where he now shines as their #1 star. But let's explore the Griezmann-Barca saga and how that turned out for both the club and the player. Griezmann began his career playing for his hometown club UF Mâconnais, where he embarked on several trials with bigger clubs, like Lyon, the club he supported as a child. He soon earned a spot in their youth academies, but was rejected because of his small frame, a decision the club was soon going to regret. In 2005, while on trial with Montpellier, Griezmann played in a friendly match against the PSG Youth Academy and impressed several clubs, including Real Sociedad, whose scouts were in attendance. He was scouted and began playing for the Spanish side while attending school across the border in Bayonne, France. He would attend school for most of the day and train in the evenings at the club's headquarters in Saint-Sébastien. It took him a while to break into Real Sociedad's first team, but after 4 years in the club's youth system, he made his debut, called up by Martin Lasarte for Real Sociedad's 2009-10 pre-season campaign. In the pre-season, he scored 5 goals in 4 appearances and soon became the team's regular starting left winger. He played 5 seasons for the club and had 24 goal contributions in 48 games in his last season. And with a performance like that, a big move was obviously imminent. On July 28, 2014, Atletico Madrid reached an agreement with Real Sociedad for the transfer of Griezmann, for a fee believed to be close to his $30 million buyout clause. And at Atletico, he only got better. His numbers were so impressive, it must have been why Barca wanted him in the first place. In his first season there, he scored 25 goals in 53 games. Immense returns on what would prove to be a genius transfer for Atletico. But it was the 2017-18 season that he got the world's attention, racking up 44 goal contributions in only 49 games, and also winning Atletico the Europa League that same season and the UEFA Super Cup the season after. He also came in 3rd place in the 2018 Ballon d'Or race, behind Messi and Ronaldo. And one thing about Barcelona, they always have an eye out for breakout stars at other clubs. So just 1 season after he had won the Europa League, on July 14, 2019, after activating his €120 million buyout clause. The club did realise they had just spent a whole lot on the transfer, but while they were hoping to get their money's worth, as anyone would expect, the world soon came to know how reckless their decision was. Griezmann made his debut for Barcelona the next month under head coach Ernesto Valverde in a 1-0 defeat to Athletic Bilbao, but about a week later, he scored a brace and gave 1 assist during his home debut, which ended in a 5-2 win against Real Betis. A more than decent start to life at Camp Nou as well. He showed exuberance at the club and made friends with several players. He even kissed the badge in a promotional photo. On the pitch, however, it soon became a different story. It never seemed like Valverde planned on even particularly wanting Griezmann's arrival. Valverde had opted between a 4-4-2 and a 4-4-3 formation, both with Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi at the head of attack. Usually another player was positioned either as an additional forward or as one of the wingers in the midfield 4. It used to be Philippe Coutinho and Ousmane Dembele. But now, Griezmann seemed destined for that role. So Valverde went with a 4-3-3 with Griezmann on the left. The only problem was that Griezmann wasn't particularly a winger and hadn't been one since his early days. The role he was most used to for his career was a second striker, so a 4-4-2 would have suited him just fine. But with Messi at the club, that kind of shape would have been nearly impossible, and so Griezmann had to make do with playing on the left wing. It wasn't the most comfortable position for the Frenchman, but he tried his best to manage. and it was not in his nature to complain or argue with the coach's decisions. Even with the seemingly declining performance and tactical mismatch, he wasn't a complete failure, and he did have good moments. He always seemed to be trying his best. He never became lazy or showed a lack of interest, common with players who are unsatisfied with their roles. But he seemed to have naturally declined nonetheless, and with time, Barcelona simply couldn't afford his massive salary anymore. It just wasn't worth it, and they weren't the richest of clubs anyway. So after 2 full seasons at Barcelona, where he had scored a decent 35 goals alongside 17 assists, Atletico took him back on a 1-year loan. But over the next months, it had become a battle between the two clubs, with Atletico refusing to play Griezmann often enough to trigger a mandatory purchase clause, and Barcelona exploring legal options to force the sale through anyway. And being caught up in all that drama was frustrating and humiliating for Griezmann. Atletico wanted to play him, but often sat him out on matches because they didn't want to have to buy him, and suffer the predicament of paying his hefty salary. And Barca wanted to get rid of him to recoup at least some part of that 122 million euros they had spent. But he soon proved to be a formidable player for Atletico once again, because even if he wasn't a regular for the club due to legal reasons, he always showed what a great player he was whenever given the chance. But what finally convinced the club was probably his goal and assist in a 3-1 victory over Porto in the group stages of the 22-23 UEFA Champions League. And so on October 10th, 2022, Atletico reached an agreement with Barcelona over the transfer of Griezmann for a reported fee of 22 million euros. And now, their star was fully back. He went on to record 16 goals and 18 assists across all competitions in the 22-23 season, making him Atletico's top scorer. He also tied with City's Kevin De Bruyne and PSG's Lionel Messi for the most league assists in Europe's 5 major leagues. Things only got better for him, surpassing the club record held by legend Luis Aragonés. So why didn't he succeed at Barca then? A lot of people blame Barca's president at the time, Josep Mario Bartomeu. Under his leadership, a lot of poor transfer decisions were made, including Coutinho, whom they bought for 142 million euros, Dembele, for who they paid 105 million euros, and of course, Griezmann, who came with the 122 million euro price tag. But altogether, that's 367 million euros spent on the purchase of players, and with barely anything to show for it. In Antoine's case, however, the club just wasn't tactically ready to accommodate a player like him. He even admitted in February 24 that his move to the Camp Nou was a huge mistake, a shocking revelation, as Antoine is not one to say such things about any club. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to keep seeing more of our awesome content. See you around.